It's all about underpriced attention.
21st century, there is so much to understand.
Welcome to our podcast. If you'd just like to introduce yourself.
Okay. So I'm Lee Wilcox. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Electric House, which is a social media publishing group.
Brilliant. I must admit, I noticed your stuff a long time ago. I noticed the on the tools.
Yes.
And I used to enjoy watching that stuff. I used to think, it's there. And it come in my timeline newsfeed. I watch it. And of course, Facebook, the way in which it does, because I give it dwell time, it keeps delivering me that stuff.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought to myself, do you know, I figured at some point you might get a tap on the shoulder by social chain or something like that wanting to buy you or something. Has that ever happened?
Yeah, we had, to be honest, quite early on we had not social chain, not until later on with social chain. We had a meeting with them about they'd just raised that 8 million and they were acquiring a lot. This was probably a couple of years, like 2 years ago, but quite early on, Lab Bible had conversations and stuff. But we were sort of on our own path because we'd come up with the idea for On the Tools based on a recruitment app. So it's nothing to do with social.
Right.
We were just pissed on a Friday night. So me and Ad went to school with each other. So Adam Barry, the co-founder of On the Tools, he was in the trade for 12 years. It's a Friday night and we're just getting drunk and he's moaning about the fact he can't find a plasterer on a job he's on.
Yeah.
Starts explaining that in order to do that, really the means of finding people on site is you go through your phone book, you go through and then you use a recruiter.
Yeah.
But recruiters had such a bad name in the industry. I mean, recruitment's a bit of a dirty word anyway. You go into construction, it's even worse, And so we just carried on getting drunk. We had I actually took a photo. I don't know why I took a photo of it either. The two Captain Morgan's bottles we went through. So it's always been like Captain Morgan's is now like brand of choice in the office. But we just came with this idea to create an app that was going to allow contractor and subcontractor to connect. That was it, because you had things like Checker Trade, Rated People.
Yeah.
It was all B2C. It was nothing that was going to allow the B2B market on site. But we had no money, so the next morning. Ad was it was a Saturday morning, I remember, and he was driving to London to go and work on a site, and he was like, "We've got to do something with this idea." So we spec'd out this app. Used 3 credit cards to try and get it built on Elance, on like a freelancing website.
Wow.
Sent it off to India and was like, okay, we've got no money. What we need to do is we need to get 100,000 builders in one spot. We'll launch the app, they'll download it, we'll be rich. Like that was the depth and wealth of the business model and the business plan. And then Ad was like, I've got loads of funny videos from people on site, and it was around about this point you had like Lab Bible had got to, I think they'd just cleared the 1.5 million mark, so that short form viral clip was like really like popping through social, particularly through Facebook. He didn't have loads of videos, full of shit. He had 4. So then we ended up having to like scour YouTube and stuff for like a week, and then we started getting loads of videos sent in instantly within like a couple of days, and after 2 weeks we'd hit 10,000, after 3 months we'd hit 250,000, after 9 months we'd hit 1 million. And every day we were getting like hundreds of video messages of people on site wanting to be featured through the page.
Brilliant.
And then we realised we was like, actually there's something in this is growing at a rate that we never could have foreseen, and then we got the app back and it didn't work.
No.
We'd had our pants pulled down. It was built in like iOS 3. I think they'd just released iOS 7. iOS 3 didn't even exist anymore. So we rebuilt in the UK then. And then we never launched it, because by the time we'd got it ready, it was like 2.5 years in. Recruitment within the industry had changed a lot. There was loads of work on, not only in London but actually in a lot of other cities. So people were travelling less. The churn was slower.
Yeah.
So we were like, well, we don't want to charge anyone for it. We don't want to charge the builder or anyone within construction. We wanted to monetize it through cutting out recruiters or partnering with select ones and then using brands to monetize. And we were like, someone's going to download this and there's going to be a thing on them, or because we've got no ad strategy spend, because haven't really got much money still. Someone, because of the breadth of our organic reach back then, someone was going to download it in Edinburgh, someone's going to download it in Dorset, and go, this is shit. Yeah. This is a rubbish app.
Yeah, so you're too far away to even. Yeah.
You've got to have that like Uber style, release program where you go in city by city with hard ad spend and try and drive that engagement. So we just can. It's in the app graveyard. It is. It's a goner.
Bless you. So what ignited this whole thing? Did you take a look on the tools and think, let's turn this into something?
Yeah. So when we hit about 500,000 on the Facebook page, and people were starting to. We've gone through like 3 different businesses. It's hilarious. So we were a tech startup. Then we moved into like an e-com brand. So we were like a workwear brand for about a year and a half. So the community had started asking for merch, just like basic on the tool stuff. So this is the best business model in the world. So we put it out through the page for the community to give us the top 6 slogans for trades, for certain trades. So like we did Sparkies, plumbers, chippies, and a few others, ground workers, a few others. And then we just went through the feed and picked the ones with the most likes on, made some like really poor designs, whipped up a Shopify store. So at this period of time, I'm still working full time in a previous role. I'm a director in another business, and then I'm coming home every day at 6, and I'm spending like 5 hours going through messages, watching every single video.
Oh wow!
Scheduling for the next day. Did that for 6 months, and then when the shop started, in the first week we did 800 quid's worth of sales, and so I just quit my job. I just went in and quit. I sent the first batch of merch out in green bin liners, like refuge bags, because I didn't have any. We hadn't prepped for it. We just did it, and then people started buying stuff. I was in my mum and dad's living room. We was all like wrapping stuff up, and then we did that first month. I quit my job. Everyone thought I was a maniac, and we did 15 grand's worth of sales in that first month, and then it just continued. So we did about like 250 grand that year.
Wow.
And we didn't know Christmas was great because we just couldn't stop the orders, but we were like 4 weeks behind. It was the worst service. Anyone who bought anything from that first year, I apologise because it was a bad service, but it really built that community engagement because people were sending us ideas for more merch. It was such a great business model. But like anything through social, what's that? There's a book, isn't there? What got you there won't get you. Yeah. What got you here won't get you there. It's that thing, isn't it? Of like, you find the magic bullet, but the bullet it runs out, doesn't it?
It does. When did it run out for you?
So we lasted about 2 years in that, and it wasn't really necessarily because it stopped working. The ads platform had changed a lot over that period of time. It had become far more in depth. Obviously, organic reach was
I would
declining.
say the algorithm change really messed it up, because I know Lad Bible suffered.
Well, it's interesting because at that period of time, so 2018 was when the algorithm changed for publishers in what was classed as the bad way. And probably 6-9 months in, we'd looked at the page and been like, look at Lad Bible, they're growing at like 1 million a month, and look at us, we're growing at 100,000 a month, 120 or whatever.
Oh no!
I know, yeah, like beggars, jokers, but we were like, should we broaden what we're doing? We've got the same demo, UK males, and should we be doing sport? Should we be sort of branching out? But because we had the app in the back of our head, we were like, well, if we broaden it too much, we're going to dilute it. We're going to have loads of people who aren't in the trade, so therefore that's pointless. Let's stick to what we know and stay in construction. Now, roll forward like 3 years, the app's dead, but because we had that, it was the one reason that when all the publishers suffered at the start of 2018, we went the opposite way, because it was all about niche community engagement, and we had it in abundance. We hadn't scaled out across multiple territories. We hadn't gone to 40 mil. I wish we had done in certain instances, but actually it was the reason that we're now, we reach more UK males than any creator globally. Yeah. And it's because we ended up staying niche, and we've now sort of, accidentally fell in the right side of the algorithm, I guess, in that sense.
So how did the agency come about then from all of
this?
Well,
so alongside the sort of the shop, as we call it back then, was growing. We were, we'd started to work with brands. So Andy Taylor, our commercial director, had come on board with the notion of like, right, we need some retained partnerships. We're looking across social, and we always sort of joked back then, and even now to a certain extent, where the construction industry is often a little bit behind in terms of what consumer land is doing through social. So we'd be like looking at what everyone else is doing and we're like, right, let's gear up for that, because in a year's time, some of the brands that we're working with are going to want to start trialing that. So we'd managed to get, the start of 2016, managed to get 3 retained partnerships where I think we'd committed to making like 60 pieces of video content, and we didn't even own a camera. You know, we were just like, we definitely can do it. We've got the community, we've got the creativity, but we don't necessarily have the people. So we quickly turned that around, and then it got to the point particularly in the office, it was a bit of space planning as well, where we'd got to about 20 people, and then we still had half of the office that was like full of clothing stock. We had DTG printers, we had like the lot, and we were like, what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to become the biggest workwear brand in the world, or are we trying to become a media business? And it's that, you know, concentrate on what not to do. And it was painful because we all loved it. It was the thing that made our first bit of money. You know, we were emotionally tied to it, but we just had to chop the head off it. So at that point, we then started to really, really ramp up the media side, and then we had a bit of an identity crisis. I always remember Andy going to like a trade show at the NEC, and he, at this point, I think there was 21 people working in the business, and he went up to one of the stands. It was someone within construction, someone who sort of should have known who we were, and they did. But Andy gave them his business card. It said commercial director on it, and they, rather than like communicating with him, they just walked to the back of the stand, bought someone else from that business, and they were laughing their heads off, and they were like, "We cannot believe On the Tools has got a commercial director." And they were like, "We thought it was just a builder in his pants, like just messing around with funny videos." And whilst from a content point of view, the authenticity of that from an end user perspective in the community, that's like a big plus. Yeah. But when you sit in front of a brand, trying to make sure that you can like, you know, create revenue models, that's a real problem.
Of course.
So when he's come back and told, we were all laughing our heads off. It was like, shit, we've got a bit of a problem here, because there's 20 people in an office that are effectively working as an agency that no one really knows it's an agency. Everyone's just like, it's just a Facebook page. Brilliant. And that term, just a Facebook page, became like the bane of my life, you know. So, and then we started to grow more communities. We acquired another one at the start of 2019 called On a Budget, which is the opposite to On the Tools. It's 2.5 million women who share ideas and save money in the home across like home decor, cooking, DIY and crafts and stuff. And we were like, this is even more confusing now. We're going out as On the Tools, but we've also got another brand that's called On a Budget. Both start with On. Are we only going to be like, what are we doing? Like, and then we were like, we've got to create this topco, this, whether it's an agency, whether it's a publisher, whatever it is, something's got to own these brands. And we were looking at acquiring and growing more, and then we just couldn't think of a name. And then I was late one night, was writing a load of ideas down of what we could do, and the first office we had, which was about as big as this room we're in, and had like prison bars on the window. It was an absolute shithole. I love it though. Anyone who owns the building, apologies. But it was called Electric House, the building was. And we were like, that's the one. Like, just call it that. It's a bit of like heritage in terms of the story. Brilliant. It sounds pretty cool. And then when we got the branding back for it, we were like, yeah, that is bang on. Yeah. So we then created this social media publishing group that sits above our owned and operated communities, basically, through social.
So looking at your website, there's a lot of really sort of, I don't know, reputable brands on there, isn't there?
I know, who'd have thought it? We've blagged our way to doing some work with some decent brands.
So, look, at the end of the day, you've got to like, big props to you guys. You know what I mean? You've got some credible brands on there, but I think people forget that social's a people product first. Yeah. You know, forget the brands. If you identify and you understand who you're talking to, you've cracked it.
Well, I think there's so many companies now, or historically, companies started with an idea and then worked out how they could sell it to. So many more companies and ideas are being born based on the fact that people have grown communities and they work out what to sell to them, i.e. they solve a problem, or, you know, and obviously, you know, we're in this game, and any brand that can have a community to instantly market to, whether you want to say it's organic or not, there's still a lot of organic reach and viewership left if you do it in the right way.
Of course.
That's the golden ticket, isn't it? You know, if you do it the way around, it's really expensive. Marketing is expensive. So I think
That's the Bartlett model, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's exactly how we did it with the student problems.
Yeah.
And growing up in the whole social world for the last 12 years, looking in on that, it's the envy of lots of social media channels.
Yeah, and having that community, and I think that's probably our biggest focus, is that we've adopted this UK community. So we're going through other things at the moment to sort of acquire more UK communities and grow more UK communities, because that's something we've really focused on. Again, sort of accidentally, when we've been looking at figures and looking at where we sit, and then looking at the value we've got to return back to brands we're working with, and sort of understanding when you get a brand come and say, we want 2 million views, and you go, why? And they go, because they've got it. And you're like, that's not a sensible thing. We'll get you 2 million views. Like, that's not really that difficult, particularly if you put paid strategy, because we'll just put, I can put 300 quid and get you 1 million views in Gambia. Like, if that's what you want to do. But there's you have your premium territories, and we believe we're sort of trying to double down on the UK to make sure that we become the biggest publishing group in the country.
So how does that conversation go then? You identify a group out there, and you go, do you know what, I want to buy it. I want to buy your group. You've got a decent community. How does that conversation happen?
It's all over the place, I'll be honest, because I think what you've got to look at as well, particularly through Instagram and Facebook, is that there's so many, because it's so accessible. Yeah, anyone can start a page, anyone can start a group. I mean, take Facebook groups for an example. Massive boom. The product got left for like 7 years.
Yeah.
And then 2 years ago, Facebook are like, shit, there's loads of people using this. What's going on? And then they're like, actually, there's 1 billion people using this. Let's try and get some ad space in this thing.
Yeah.
Like, so a lot more focus goes on to that. But most of these groups have been built on the basis that someone's got a really keen interest. They're trying to solve a personal problem, and they reach out to other people and end up getting another load of people that have got the same problem. Or they've got like a really interesting hobby or whatever it might be, but there's that shared interest. They're not people who are trying to run a business. They've not started it for that reason. We started on the tools because we had a business idea. You started your business because you had a business idea. But these groups and these publishing pages that have been run by individuals are they're a business waiting to happen.
Yeah.
But they're not necessarily being operated by people who want to run a business. So then straight away you come up against, when you have these first initial conversations, it's what we're trying to do is make sure that we're not actually in the process of trying to acquire outright. We're looking at how we can grow our own still in certain verticals. But what we've done and what we're going to continue to do is actually bring people into the group, because I think
it's a partnership then, almost.
Yeah, because it's the same as if someone wanted to buy on the tools now, just separately on its own, they'd struggle like shit to keep the engagement where it's at, because there's people who've been running that page and that community for years, and it's no different. It's even more prominent if you was to get a group within Facebook or an Instagram page where someone's been running it for 5 years and it's run by one person. Absolutely. You take that off them, and you've lost the magic that's there, So
I love it.
There's a real key part of making sure that you don't just sort of rip the good out of it, I guess, in that sense.
Yeah, really good point. Really good point. I've got a customer actually who appeared on the tools.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He sent me a video. He's like, "Have you seen this?" And I'm like, "What? No, what is it?" And he played a baby. He played a builder.
Yes.
That was...
It was a parody sketch, wasn't it?
He liked to...
I spoke to somebody about this yesterday because they brought it up. I was on the phone to someone and they put it up. It was like, that baby one, is it real? I was like, it's a parody, mate. We went through a stage of testing content through the channel of parody things, and it's like weird, wasn't it? And I was like, well, yeah, that was sort of the point of it. Yeah. Phil, the groundworker baby.
That's right.
He was the one who played the groundworker.
He was the one that played the groundworker. Yeah.
Props to you, Phil, the groundworker.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
So that was sort of came all from the birth of in-stream ads, or ad breaks, however people term it, through Facebook, which I think are going to sort of kick into Instagram as well pretty soon. Where we'd been creating content for 4 years and making no money, and then suddenly, literally overnight, you've then got another revenue model that you've got no team for. Yeah. So you then have to start scrapping around and going, okay, well, let's just test. It was like a free reign. the original team had a right laugh because it was just like, do what you want for like a quarter, because we don't know what's going to work. We don't know, you know. So we've tried loads of different bits of content, but
No, he loved it. He absolutely loved the experience. Very proud of the video.
How fun
And
is
I think
that?
within 24 hours, he got 50,000 views. You're really proud.
Oh yeah, it's within 48 hours it had done like 1 million views. It was,
easy. Easy.
Yeah, it was a good one.
So, talk to me about becoming Entrepreneur of the Year.
Oh God,
That's really cool, isn't it? You know what I mean? That's a
it was good. You know what was really cool about it is I took my mum and dad on the night, and I've got the best photo ever. My dad like jumped up and like grabbed me, and it's took by a professional photographer at the event.
Yeah.
And I've got that now, and I'm like, that's probably the best bit about it, getting a good photo that you can sort of re-look at. But no, I mean, isn't it great to always get some form of accolade or whatever? But it's more about the business ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
All of those sort of entrepreneur awards, my name is just tagged to it, but it doesn't really mean anything to me. It's just another business award that we can win together. But they're the NatWest one's a good one. A good one to get involved in actually, and I don't even know if NatWest sponsor anymore actually. But the Great British Entrepreneur Awards they do a good job over there. But yeah, it was good fun. I didn't think we were going to win, so it was even better when you've got no expectations of winning, then
throw
you
the
win.
application together, see what happens.
Yeah.
Oh, the one.
Yeah.
Sound.
So that's always great. But yeah, I think we're Electric House. We're going to because we sort of dipped out of the awards bit last year because they're quite time consuming and often you can write 20 of them and you don't win any. Do you know what I mean? So they're not an easy ride. But I think because of Electric House now and the amount of PR we're trying to position who we are, because we've gone through this thing of like getting notoriety with on the tools, and obviously that's not gone anywhere. But then you start a new brand to sit on top of that, and all you talk about is that new brand, and no one knows who the hell it is again. So you're sort of starting not from scratch, but there's a lot of work to do, I think, with regard to Electric House and sort of positioning that.
So what plans have you got in the future then for Electric House? Where do you see it going?
So, well, our plan is to be the biggest social media publishing group in the country. We think that we're going to be able to do that, and both in terms of size of communities aggregated, but also in performance. So I suppose what I mean by that is where are the actual views and engagement, because it's one thing having X amount of millions of followers on what is meant to be a British page or community, but actually the bulk of the views and engagement come from other territories. So we're really trying to focus on that, and we use Tubular Labs to track our growth from an engagement and viewpoint, because they're able to sort of like scan YouTube, Insta, Twitter, Facebook and put a sort of higher level currency on it, rather than us going, well, we get 3-second views over there because that's how Facebook track it, and then TV, when we're trying to sit in front of a brand and be like, you should be spending through social, and they measure their views on 30 seconds, we're like, everything's going to 30 seconds, and I think that's where social's going to move. So we're trying to track our growth along UK views, UK engagement, 30-second views, so that we're comparing apples and apples. I think there's a massive problem at the minute where there's a big gap between what's being spent on digital and social. I think Tubular did a report on it. It's about a 13 billion gap, and then still what's being spent on telly. But the argument is that telly are measuring everything against 30-second views, and everyone in social is measuring it on a view in 3 seconds. So you can't expect the same amount of importance to be put on something that doesn't have the same measurement. So we're really trying to push that now in terms of when we're speaking to brands, which is there's an education piece in there. There's a bit of a sell, and to say, well, actually, no, this is is apple and apple. So and there's a big original play for us. So we want to make sure that we're creating way more original content than anyone, so that we can get to the point where we're publishing through Facebook, Amazon Prime, etc., and sort of stepping up our production level. And then the third part to that is the data bit. So we're starting to sort of look at how we can utilise the data we've got within all of the communities to then build more revenue models and more de-risk.
Clever social.
It's social's a scary game, and it's there 1 minute and then it's not, and then it's there again, and then
back
you
again,
understand it and then you
yeah.
don't understand it, and so we want to make sure that we've got some consistency with the business. We've grown a lot over the last year, and we've moved offices. The rents flew up. We're at 60 people now. We're going to be at 90 by the end of the year. So I've got to make sure that there's a real focus on steadying the ship, as well as growing's fun and it's great, but it's really stressful if I never want to be in a position where we can't pay the bills or pay people's salaries and all that type of thing. So definitely sort of de-risking across other revenue models is something we need to focus on as well. Yeah.
Brilliant. Listen, I could speak to you for hours. Seriously, we've only got 30 minutes for this podcast.
I've spoken too much.
Seriously, listen, mate. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on.
Very best.
Thank you very much.
Mate.
Appreciate it.
I think I'd like to sort of keep some kind of two-way relationship going.
Yeah, definitely.
And, we're connected on LinkedIn.
Use
that whole social world to sort of stay connected. Mate.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you. If anybody wants to get hold of you, how can they do that?
LinkedIn is definitely the best spot. So yeah, just Lee Wilcox on LinkedIn. Got a big pink background for the electric house vibe.
Yeah.
We create a lot of content on there, so hopefully you'll be able to find us.
Brilliant.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, man.
Take care.